morning. Welcome to the UU Church of the South Hills, also known as Sunnyhill. We are delighted that you could join us for the service. Our mission at Sunnyhill is to create a more just and compassionate community within and beyond our walls. My name is Roxy Mountjoy, and I serve as a worship associate for this congregation. If you're a newcomer or a visitor to our congregation, please go to sunnyhill.org and click on the button that says New to Sunnyhill to receive more information about our congregation and to receive our weekly email newsletter. If you're joining us online today, please say hello or good morning in the comments on Facebook or YouTube. We'd like to hear from you and extend you a welcome as well. We welcome children of all ages to our service. For quiet play, we have a children's area here in the sanctuary. For louder activities, we have a nursery just outside the corner entrance to the sanctuary. We also have a comfort room accessible through the back hallway from which you can hear and see the service. A gentle reminder to everyone, please silence your cell phones and other electronic devices so that we all may enjoy the service without any buzzing or ringing. Today's sermon is titled Ritual, Religion, and Belief. Participating in rituals is a deep and meaningful part of being human. This service will explore why rituals are so important and what they mean to us, especially in our current era. Our opening words were written by Pat Uribe Lichty. We gather. We bring our sorrows, our disappointments, our failures. We gather for healing, for laughter, and to rejoice. We gather to find new ways of loving, new ways of thinking, new ways of being. We gather. Yes, we gather, for it is in gathering that we find our hope. Please join me in saying the words to light our chalice. We light our chalice to share the light of love and find healing and hope in this gathered community.
Good morning. Please rise and body your spirit to join in singing our opening hymn, Here We Have Gathered.
Good morning. It is our time for all ages. If there are any kiddos present that want to come up, now is your chance. Good morning, friends. How's everyone doing today, okay? Good, good, good. There was a terrible war that took place not that long ago, around the time that my grandparents were born. It came to be known as World War II. It was a very scary and dangerous time for so many people, and many tried to escape from war-ravaged areas to bring their families to safety. People leaving their countries for safety are called refugees. Many people in the United States wanted to help, including Unitarians. The Unitarians formed the Unitarian Service Committee and got to work looking for ways to help refugees. The committee members went to Europe and soon learned that communicating with those needed help escaping would be a challenge because they spoke so many different languages, like German or Yiddish or French or Italian or Polish or Hungarian. Most of the American Unitarians only spoke English. How could they explain that they were there to help? Dr. Charles Joy was in charge of the Unitarian Service Committee. He knew that the Unitarians needed a symbol that everyone could recognize, no matter what language they spoke. It would have to be a picture, a symbol with no words. That way, anyone could understand the message, "We are here to help you." Dr. Joy asked an artist named Hans Deutsch for help. He thought maybe an artist could draw the right kind of picture that could be a symbol for the Unitarians. Hans Deutsch himself was a refugee after fleeing to Portugal from Germany during the war. He knew how hard it was himself to communicate in his new home when he moved. Mr. Deutsch made a drawing of a chalice with a flame surrounded by a circle. He showed it to Dr. Joy, who brought it back with him to Europe. The symbol worked. Soon, refugees all over Europe began to see this symbol wherever the Unitarian Service Committee went to find and help them. When refugees saw a picture of a chalice, a flame, and a circle around the chalice that looked like it was protecting it, they knew they could trust the committee members. They did not need to speak English or even know how to read to understand the symbol. The picture gave the message of hope, freedom, and love that the refugees were looking for. After the war was over, Unitarians began using the flaming chalice and its circle as a symbol in worship. Later, the Universalists joined the Unitarians to form the Unitarian Universalist Association, and people started to draw the symbol with 2 circles instead of 1. 1 circle is for the Unitarians and 1 circle for the Universalists. The circles are so close together that they overlap. The circles are connected, just as Unitarian Universalists believe that all of us are connected to another. The chalice, if you look closely, is not in the exact middle of the circle. It's almost like the chalice has moved over to let something else come in. This reminds us that as Unitarian Universalists, we always leave room for new ideas. We, as Unitarian Universalists, have all kinds of chalices. We light a chalice on Sunday morning in worship and in our religious education classes, and at other times when we gather in our faith home together. Some family homes use chalice lightings during meals or other special occasions. Chalices come in lots of different shapes and sizes and colors, just like we do. Does anyone know where the flaming chalice is in this room right now? Right there. Great job, friends. The flaming chalice is a faith symbol for us as Unitarian Universalists. It's a symbol of learning, caring, and love. It's a symbol of hope and freedom and light. The shared ritual of lighting our chalice each Sunday reminds us of our history and illuminates our path forward to continue to be a church of a loving heart, open mind, and helping hands. And with that, we will head to our RE classes. Let's sing the kiddos out.
As you go, may joy surround you. As you go, go in peace. Know our love is with you always. As you go, as you go, as you go, may joy surround you. As you go, swinging it today. Love it. This Friday, we have an awesome concert come in here to our Sunnyhill Live series, the Heather Pearson duo, which is Heather Pearson and her partner who plays upright bass. Heather Pearson's an incredible vocalist and jazz pianist, but she also happened to work as a UU music director for many years, and she, along with her dear friend Bernice Martin, put together a collection of what they call heart songs and circle songs, which we have used a lot in worship and are used all over. And there's one of those songs that's been in my head recently. And it's been in my head because it's a song that really grounds me and brings me back into my body. And I don't know about you, but I've been in my head a lot and in my feelings a lot in the past couple of months. And this is one of those songs that kind of just brings me back down and reminds me of what I can do and the agency that I have, that we all have. So, can you give me a Jim's gonna sing this with me a few times. I'd love for you to join us, and then we're gonna canon it. So if this side of the room wants to follow me and that side of the room wants to follow Jim, it'll be really cool. All right.
These hands will do the work. These feet will carry me. These arms will be welcoming to what these eyes can see. This mind will stay open to the possibility. And the love in this heart will set me free. These hands will do the work. These feet will carry me. These arms will be welcoming to what these eyes can see. This mind will stay open to the possibility. And the love in this heart will set me free. These hands will do the work. These feet will carry me. These arms will be welcoming to what these eyes can see. These hands will do the work. These feet will carry me. These arms will be welcoming to what these eyes can see. This mind will stay open to the possibility. And the love in this heart will set me free. These hands will do the work. These feet will carry me. These arms will be welcoming to what these eyes can see. This mind will stay open to the possibility. And the love in this heart will set me free. These hands will do the work. These feet will carry me. These arms will be welcoming to what these eyes can see. This mind will stay open to the possibility. And the love in this heart will set me free.
One more time all together, all in this love.
And the love in this heart will set me free.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
This is the time in our service when we share joys and sorrows that have been submitted by members of the congregation. After each joy or sorrow that I share, please respond by saying, "We hold you in our hearts." A joy from Julianne Sullivan. Julianne says, "We all did something right. My son Sean was raised in this congregation. He turned 31 yesterday. As he winds down his work doing sound for many local high school musicals And with no input from me, he chose to donate sound equipment to Sunnyhill. Yes, I am proud, and I believe his experience here is what keeps Sunnyhill in his heart. To Julianne and Sean, we hold you in our hearts. A sorrow from Jessica Sargent. Jessica says, our stepfather and grandfather, Russell Pratt, passed away last month after a very short, courageous battle with pancreatic cancer. We miss him every day, but feel peace knowing he's no longer suffering. His grandchildren, Rowan and Hadley, will always remember him for his hearty laugh and warm hugs. To Jessica and family, we hold you in our hearts. And the sorrow from Barb Schock. Barb says, my brother Dwight fractured his pelvis and hip when a car turned in front of him while he was riding his bike. He has a long time of recuperation ahead. Barb says, thank goodness he was wearing his helmet. To Barb, her brother Dwight, we hold you in our hearts. As we sing our musical meditation, we invite anyone who feels moved to do so to come forward, light a candle, place it in the sand, and then return to your seat.
Building for
Please join me in the spirit of meditation or prayer. In a time of fragmentation and disintegration, we long for oneness of heart and mind. In a time of discord and dissonance, we long for the sweetness of harmony. In a time of greed and narrow self-interest, we long for the richness of living for each other. Let us pause for a moment of quiet to make space for oneness, for sweetness, for richness of heart and mind. May we build for tomorrow a nobler world than we know today. May we create a new community of greater understanding. May we bind our hearts together in hymns of love, and in so doing, may all be made free. Amen. I'm recovering from a cold, so I appreciate your patience and forbearance. I'll probably have to stop to take sips of water or tea occasionally, but I'm okay. Last week, we hosted an interfaith potluck supper and service with the goal of creating a space in which our LGBTQ plus members, friends, and families would feel warmly embraced, would experience the love and support of this gathered community. Included in this service was a laying on of hands ritual of connection, affirmation, and healing, which was a moving and powerful moment. So powerful that it has stuck with me all week long, providing a sort of touch point that I could return to when I began to feel discouraged about the many things there are to feel discouraged with today. That moment reminded me that while organizing for social justice is an absolutely crucial part of what we do here, ritual is also important and something that we are uniquely positioned to provide as a religious community. And in fact, sometimes these rituals overlap with and are an important part of our social justice efforts. So this past week, I've been thinking about ritual, religion, and belief in the context of our own era. When our daughter Ella was 5 or 6 months old, we had a dedication ceremony for her at the UU Church in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, where we were members. The ceremony itself, much like our child dedications here at Sunnyhill, was relatively simple. We came forward with family and friends and recited a list of promises that we were making toward our child. The congregation reciprocated. The minister took a rose, dipped it in water, and touched it to Ella's brow, mouth, heart, hands, and feet, wishing for her wisdom, sweetness, love, good work, and her own path through life. And she has definitely found her own path. The choir sang a wonderful, rousing piece called "It Takes a Whole Village." At the very end of the service that day, right after the minister said the closing words, Ella shouted out some unintelligible 5-month-old exclamation, and the minister said, "That's right, Ella, amen." It was a simple ritual, nothing elaborate or ornate in any way, but it was one of those crystalline moments that I expect will remain forever etched in my memory. And it was one of the moments that eventually led me toward ministry. The ritual was made more meaningful because of the backstory behind it. After having been born prematurely, Ella spent the first 5 days of her life in the neonatal intensive care unit at our hospital. And during the ensuing weeks, when we returned her home from the hospital, and Marta was unable to do a whole lot, and I was trying to return to work, members of our church choir, which I was a part of, took it upon themselves to bring us meals, to help hold and care for Ella, to give advice and counsel to us, to somewhat older first-time parents who didn't have any idea what we were doing. And so when the choir sang that song, we had already experienced the truth of its words. It really does take a whole village, and we were living proof of that notion. The ritual of the child dedication lifted up all these experiences as well as our hopes and dreams for our daughter and reminded us of the sacredness of every part of that experience. As Unitarian Universalists, we do not necessarily participate in many rituals compared to other religious traditions. Ours is sometimes called a non-liturgical or low church tradition. Because ours is a liberal religious tradition, we tend to emphasize reason and experience more than we do tradition and scripture, and ritual generally follows into that tradition category. But the rituals and traditions that we do have are meaningful and important. Another example of such a ritual is the coming of age service we have each year. It's a great way to welcome our rising high schoolers into the community of youth and young adults in our church, to hear their belief statements articulated so beautifully, to see their own backstories shown in a slideshow at the end and in the reflections that they deliver. It's such a meaningful moment for our coming of age youth, their parents, their mentors, and for all of us as members of this congregation that's so fortunate to have them among us. The birth of children and their eventual coming of age are everyday occurrences. In many ways, these events or passages are just a result of continuing to live and breathe. But as a religious community, we recognize that these particular everyday occurrences are significant and worth noting and worth celebrating. But why is it that we as human beings feel moved to ritualize certain experiences? Why are we compelled to come up with ceremonies, whether simple or elaborate, that mark these occasions? Rabbi Chaim Stern, one of the foremost liturgists of Reform Judaism, was fond of saying, "Ritual is poetry in action." Ritual is poetry in action. What he meant by those words was that ritual does for behavior what poetry does for words. Religious deeds elevate ordinary activities the way poetic language elevates commonplace communication. Weddings are about pausing to remember everything that led up to that moment, the way this relationship and all those relationships leading up to it were nurtured and grown. Memorial services are about the part of the individual who has died that will live on in those who knew them, the legacy of memories and feelings they left behind with those who remain. Birth, coming of age, getting married, dying, all of these are somewhat mundane, though significant events in and of themselves. But when we ritualize them, we elevate these experiences and are able to see the ways in which these everyday events are in fact enormously significant, full of meaning, and sacred. It used to be in seminaries, professors would talk about the 3 P's of ministry: the pastoral, the prophetic, and the priestly. The pastoral aspect of ministry is all about being a listening, non-anxious presence in the face of everything that is happening in the life of the congregation and in the lives of individual congregants, which is what I do for a living. The prophetic aspect of ministry has to do with naming the ways in which we as individuals and as members of this community and of our society often fall short of what is just and what is right, and acting to remedy those shortfallings in whatever way we may. The priestly aspect is about poetry in action. It's about elevating the ordinary, the mundane, the everyday, lifting it up and recognizing its larger significance in our lives, whether it's through special rituals or through our regular weekly worship services. Since entering ministry, I noticed that there are a few things that were left out of those 3 Ps that don't fit. Administrative tasks, for example, and fundraising, and committee meetings, and construction projects. But by and large, those 3 Ps still apply today. And the ritual or priestly aspect of ministry is perhaps the most important one, even for us low church Unitarians. It's up to me as a minister to point out the sacred amid the mundane, to help all of us recognize that even those administrative tasks and the fundraising and the committee meetings and the construction projects, all of these undertakings are sacred tasks. They are made sacred by our doing them together, by the relationships that are forged in the process, by the supportive love of the community that is created when we do these things together. One of my favorite spiritual teachers, Richard Rohr, said, "What makes something secular or profane is to live on the surface of anything. It's not that the sacred is over here and the profane is over there. Everything is profane if you live on the surface of it, and everything is sacred if you go into the depths of it." So the division is not between the secular and the sacred, but between the superficial and the profound. The priestly aspect of ministry, the pausing to create ritual amid the mundane, enables us to move from the superficial toward the more profound. And while in my role as minister, I am in a position which compels me to move us always in this direction from superficial surface to more profound depths, it is a ministry that is shared among all of us, as are the other aspects of ministry as well, the pastoral and the prophetic and the rest. Ritual is not really about belief, especially in our UU tradition. Some people, I think, mistake ritual for some kind of vending machine. You say the right words, you put the right things in the right order, and out comes a candy bar. But that's really not the deeper meaning at all of ritual for anyone, but especially for us as UUs. Although many rituals include statements of belief, ritual itself is more profound than mere belief. It is about reaching toward the profound, sacred depths where meaning is made, where thirsty souls are refreshed, where hungry spirits are nourished. Each week when we gather for our Sunday morning services, we try to get to those depths through various ritual means, through hymns, readings, poems, sermons, stories, sharing of joys and sorrows, lighting candles, meditations, moments of silence, and coffee and conversation. And by this simple act of taking time out of our normal routines, creating an intentional interruption in our lives, to gather together, to sit in the same space, to think and to breathe together. Rabbi Stern, whom I mentioned earlier, often used cartoons to illustrate various aspects of the human condition. One of his favorite cartoons showed two frames. In the top frame were smiling babies, filled obviously with the joy of living, their eyes bright and sparkling. In the bottom frame was a group of dull-eyed, grim-looking subway commuters on their way to work. The caption beneath the cartoon read, "What happened? When and how did we become disconnected from the joy of each moment? When and how did we start looking at time as something that must be endured rather than wholeheartedly lived and experienced? When did we start living only on the mundane surface rather than in the profound, life-giving depths?" Ritual allows us to remember that which we knew instinctively as children, but have long since forgotten. That this space and time called here and now are all that we have, and that it is up to us to penetrate the gray shells of our everyday existence, to get to the fullness of living that awaits us beneath. Ritual helps unearth our most authentic selves from the various false selves that are piled on by the exigencies of so-called adult life. If we are to survive in this time, if we are to survive the next 4 years or more, we need to find ways to return again and again to the sacred depths for spiritual sustenance, and to remind ourselves that we are deeply and profoundly interconnected to one another and to life itself. As we face the reality of social, political, and economic chaos, ritual is even more important than ever, as it enables us to enact and embody the world we want to bring into being. Ritual enables us to make what is ordinarily invisible visible. It enables us to return to the sacred depths, even when the world around us seems irrevocably profane. I hope and pray that we will find ways to embrace poetry in action, that we will remember to pause that we will discover and rediscover the value, the human necessity of moving from the superficial to the profound, the place where we are who we are meant to be, the place where we experience the here and now that might just carry us through the wildest storm of all. May it be so. Amen.
Please rise again in body or spirit to join in singing, "Come Thou Fount of Every Blessing."
Come thou fount of every blessing, tune our hearts to sing thy grace. Streams of mercy never ceasing, call for songs of loudest praise. While the hopes of life's perfection fills our hearts with joy and love, teach us ever to be faithful. May we still thy goodness prove. Come thou fount of every vision, lift our eyes to what may come. See the lion and the young that dwell together in thy home. Hear the cries of orphans silent, feel the love glow like the sun. When we all serve one another, then our heaven is begun. Come thou fount of inspiration, turn our lives to higher ways. Lift our gloom and desperation, show the promise of this day. Help us bind ourselves in union, help our hands tell of our love. With thy need, O fount of justice, earth be fair as heaven above.
Thank you. Please be seated.
Our Share the Plate beneficiary for the month of March is Lebo Pride, whose mission is to advance visibility, education, celebration, and inclusion of queer, gender diverse, and other marginalized groups. Our goal is to raise at least $2,000 in March to support our congregation's sponsorship of the annual Lebo Pride event on June 14th. You can make a gift online on our website or by text at 412-324-3130. We'll be passing our offering baskets for cash and checks in just a moment. If you're writing a check, please make it out to UUCSH and put Share the Plate in the memo line. Thank you for your generosity. please join me in saying the words to extinguish our chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Just a couple of reminders before we close. One is that 2 weeks from today, March 23rd, we'll have only one service at 10 o'clock a.m., so please mark your calendars accordingly. That will be followed by a meeting with our architect, who is going to start facilitating the visioning process for our new Capitol project. Also, remember that April 12th, just a little over a month from now, is our annual service auction, which will take place. And please look for details about how to RSVP for that event, as well as how to make donations. There's information in our weekly email newsletter, The Beat. I also want to take a moment to thank the guys in the corner who do our audio, video work, and streaming. Thank you so much. It's a largely invisible but really important task. And to thank our musicians, as always, Mary and Doug, for being here and doing what you do. And Mary, by the way, doesn't just sing and direct the choir. She also directs the streaming and the AV work, which is a big task and often a thankless one. For now, we're going to close with these words. Remembering that the universe is so much larger than our ability to comprehend, let us go forth from this time together with the resolve to stop trying to reduce the incomprehensible to our own petty expectations, so that wonder, that sense of what is sacred, can find space to open up our minds and illumine our lives. Go in peace.